The dev streams have so much new stuff being shown sometimes it's really tough to properly showcase it without being super lengthy at the same time. This video will cover a bunch of the environment art from the random world generation to the new art blocks, be it laundromat machines, fire hydrants, and even the new coffin. Hope you enjoy and make sure to paint that like button nice and solid.
All right, this is some new random world generation stamps that I made for this alpha. So in the top left, that's a world machine graph, and this is, a graph that's pretty simple. There's more complex versions that I have, but we use, it's similar to Substance Designer. We wire these nodes up, and we're able to kind of create these different stamps, and those stamps get distributed in random world generation, or people call it RWG. And so we have just improved terrain, visuals based on custom type map stamps. And this is just a screenshot showing some of the test generations with the new stamps. So we have the mesas and the lakes and the rivers and the mountains and all that stuff kind of working together to create a little bit more natural type terrain.
One of the things I was tasked with was to kind of work on some of the destruction to kind of help integrate the ground with the destroyed buildings and stuff. So what you're looking at is just some of the rubble and destruction piles that I created during this alpha. Right here's some more of those wood destruction piles placed around, just to kind of show how it helps integrate the building with the ground it sits on. All right, and here is another example of a scene where you can see all the different types of rubble piles I created, like some of the concrete rubbles and brick piles, and they're sitting on top of some of the rubble terrain textures, and you see it kind of seamlessly blends in with it, where you can't tell what's the mesh and what's the actual terrain. And here also I created some modular rubble pieces that you can kind of use to create ramps and overhangs. And then that one image that Lathan showed her, if you move forward one, there's a before and after where you can see where using these meshes, it makes the scene look a little bit less blocky, where you kind of integrate it on the edges and makes it look a little bit more natural. And earlier during this alpha, he created a new color tint shader, which gives us a lot more variety with these assets and blocks, where you can change up the colors and reuse them, and just kind of customize your environment using the same asset with little extra costs, if any. Here's some storage containers, just a bunch of examples, tarps and all sorts of different assets using this tint shade. The bedroll, one of the other things is just kind of up-resing the fidelity of a lot of these assets that you guys are familiar with. And so one of the things is adding that colorization to that bedroll, so you can kind of have your own custom colored bedroll. Here's some of the other assets. Kind of help the level designers back. Then they would try to hack together using textures and blocks to piece together to make simple things such as light bays and that sort of stuff. And so what you're seeing is actual kind of higher fidelity meshes showing light bays. And we also created different damage states where they're intact and they're cracked and then fully broken. And one of the other things, another example of something we used to hack before, but now we have actual conveyor belts you can craft together. New laundromat, where we have a couple of the new assets, props that I created. New industrial washers. Again, just some examples of some of the new art that's come in with this alpha. And also another focus during this alpha was all these really cool city POIs that the level designers were creating. We needed a lot of assets to kind of fill out those city blocks, like give them a lived-in natural feel. So A lot of the assets I created were city props during this alpha.
And like I said, I'm a prop artist, so I do a lot of simple stuff that's legacy art that needs to be updated. And simple table, nothing too fancy. Same thing. I do plant, as you can see on the middle, like there's that old plant that was there before, and the new updated version. Yeah, this is a safe that goes inside the walls, goes into the ground and different locations. So I was able to, same thing, go through the high poly and get it down to the low poly where it's good enough for the rest of the game. And this is another situation where I had to make there's two stoves. One's a modern stove, and then the other one's kind of like a 1950s stove that you'll find at your grandma's house. And there's another situation where I got 2 for 1 by changing a couple things in it and making it getting reused and everything. And same thing, like Hung was talking about, like the new, we're building all this new cities and everything. And this is just another prop that's gonna go inside the city. And here's a situation where I wish I would have done this more, where you are you able to see the old model right next to the high poly, or my the updated version. And this one was pretty cool. I was trying to tell a story, like by having the cushion all riled up and make it look like one of the zombies came out of it. For this one, it's the, what is it, control control system. And for this one was a little tricky, trying to do all these variations. You could see the top version at the very top is the old textures and everything, and then the new updated version. I The trick behind this was that I had to get everything within a one texture, and it had to also have the tint system working and everything. And at the bottom, you can see I did some duct work that connects to that, and these get used all over the game. I'm hoping that people like them. Toilets. Everybody needs to go to some toilets. So here's 3 versions. The industrial version that you'll find in like like a shopping center. The your grandma's toilet that you'll find in an old 1950s home, and then a modern toilet that you'll find in a modern home. And then at the very bottom, you have the texture versions that are, they show that they've been used or not being used for a while. The restroom theme, I did the high poly version for the shower and the bathtub, and same thing, have to make it look similar to the rest of the toilets and everything. And one of the things that I had to do with the toilet, I noticed that there was some gore on it, and so this one little simple thing of doing this kind of kicked off this whole sequence of events that ended up making me having to do some gore, and I love it. Since I was already working on gore, Justin decided to just hand me over all the rest of the gore for the game, at least stuff that you find all over the world. And one of the big requests was the fuse box. If you look to the top right, you can see the old school toolbox that gets used for everything. And for this one, I wanted to future proof some of this, just in case we needed to do any missions or anything that might get changed up. And I decided to do an exposed version, an open version, a closed version. For this one, like I decided to do one of these that you see all over the houses with the utility meter. And like I said, I was trying to future proof this, and I added a switch just in case we need it for anything. This is all part of the city environments, and I wanted to add some more variation to the whole thing. So this is one texture, kind of working a little smart on it and from one texture, trying to get an overall thing. I ended up getting, I think about 10 versions. I could get 10 versions utilizing the same things. And this is the conduit system. So all this will be updated, and pretty much as soon as it goes live, and added a couple new things to it. And at the very bottom, you could see the old conduit that used to be just a flat plane. And now all these have a 3D element to it, and they should have some collision to it, so some of the players might be able to use for gameplay now.
And that should about cover it. There's so much to unpack, so much new stuff being put into the game, and I love it all. One common question is whether we'll be able to craft these new game assets, and unfortunately, the answer from the Fun Pimps seems to be no. That is why I will be updating my expanded decorations modlet, which allows for crafting many of the uncraftable game assets. I've been doing that for the last few alphas, as I really love to outfit my base with some proper decorations. Stay safe.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.